I would say today was a closer call, but we decided it was the right call because we thought it was the best decision to foster achievement of both of our goals, maximum employment and price stability.
That was Fed Chair Jay Powell giving the reasoning behind the FOMC's decision to cut rates by 25 basis points, saying it was, quote, the right call. But not everyone agreed. Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack was the lone dissenter on the decision, saying that she preferred to hold rates steady. Here with more, we want to bring in Jim Bullard. He is the former St. Louis Fed president and current dean of the Mitch School of Business at Purdue University. Jim, it's great to have you back here on Yahoo Finance. The perfect day to talk to you, so thanks so much for making the time to join us here.
Happy to be here.
So let's talk a lot to get into. We want to get into that dissent in just a second. But first, I just want to start with the tone that we heard from Powell, because that was clearly the driving factor in the markets yesterday. We're seeing a bit of a bounce back here this morning. But I'm curious what your big takeaway from the tone that we heard from Powell and maybe what this signals just in terms of where the Fed is going to stand 12 months from now.
Yeah, I mean, the committee cut the policy rate by 25 basis points, but make no mistake, this was a hawkish decision, sometimes called a hawkish reduction in rates, where the path of rates was revised up, and so markets saw less aggressive policy easing during 2025 than they were previously expecting. You got a pretty marked reaction in both bonds and stocks, and so I think that's what's going on here. I don't think markets should have been quite as surprised as they were. I thought that a lot would hinge on the SEP, and it did, and so you did get a reaction.
Well, it's interesting because I know yesterday you said that the dot plot would do the Fed's job for them, but it sort of just added to questions about divergence on the Federal Reserve, potentially for dissenters at this meeting. How deeply divided is this Fed?
I think the for dissent interpretation is reasonable. If you look at the dot plot, obviously some did not think they should have lowered at this meeting. We'll hear more as the blackout period ends and people come out and talk about their views, maybe over the holidays or the first part of next year. So I do think that, and the chair said it was a closer call, but they wanted to go ahead with this 25 basis points. I actually think it does get them at about the right level for this situation of the policy rate, given that inflation has been a little bit sticky, so they're not going to be able to move as fast during 2025, certainly not as fast as they've moved in the last three meetings. They had a 100 basis point decline last three meetings. It's going to be nothing like that in 2025, but I think it jolted markets a little bit because now it looks like there may be a pause for a couple of meetings.
Jim, what do you think the neutral rate should be?
The committee thinks the neutral rate is 3%, but then you have to add about 100 basis points on that for the fact that inflation is still above target. So you still want to be restrictive. You still want to be putting downward pressure on inflation. So that would get you to a number more like 4% would be the right level of the policy rate. You could tweak that a little bit and get 4.25. So the committee's getting right in the range of where they should be, I think, for this environment. That's why I think this is a pretty good decision and pretty good projection out into the future. I mean, you did get a sell-off in the market, but, that was the market sort of misinterpreting, I think, a little bit how hawkish the Fed would need to be to get inflation back down to target.